All right. Hey. How's it going out there, everybody? Welcome to a very special edition of Goodwood University. We're getting it started here, right here. We have a very special person here, Drew Manning. I was blessed enough to be on his podcast. And of course, with all the information this man has, I was like, yo, we have to get him on here. For those who do not know, Drew Manning is the New York Times bestselling author of Fit to Fat to Fit. I'm the one
There
who
you
went
go.
from fat to fit to fat. We'll talk about that later. He talks about the unexpected lessons from gaining and losing 75 pounds on purpose. Drew is also the creator of the A&E show Fit to Fat to Fit and the host of the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. That's the podcast that I was on. The thing I like about him is that he's for real. He takes his craft seriously, and in order to gain 75 pounds and then take it off. First of all, he's blessed to do that because I gained 75 pounds. I'll keep it. But enough of me talking. Let's hear it from the man himself. Drew, how are you doing today, sir?
What's up, Brian? I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on your
Eh,
show, man. It's a pleasure to be
Hey,
here.
it is a pleasure to have you on, man. We got a chance to talk offline about a bunch of different things, but for today, for my fellas out there who have issues with your overall sexual performance, your overall sexual health. Oh, and by the way, my name is Brian Ayers, aka Uncle B. We talk about how to have better sexual health, better sexual performances, and that also deals with your level of fitness. We talk about your energy, your sleep, your exercise, your intermittent fasting, and soul. But today we're talking about that exercise, and more importantly, just goes into the soul side. That motivation. So before we get into the deep part of it, let's talk about you, Drew. What should people know
Sure.
about you, sir?
Yeah, well, I mean, most people know me as the fit to fat to fit guy, which you kind of alluded to in the introduction there. Um, you know, a little bit of backstory about me first. Before that is I grew up in a family of 11 brothers and sisters. So yeah, my
Ooh.
parents had 11 kids. I don't know how they pulled that off, but different generation, I guess. But I grew up in a family where we all played sports. I played football and wrestling. So from a very young age, I was very fit. I was very active my entire life. And then fast forward to probably 2009-ish, I became certified as a personal trainer because I knew
Mm.
that that was something I was passionate about. And so here I was, a personal trainer, you're right, your typical personal trainer who's never been overweight a day in my life.
Lucky
And
you.
had the six pack and all that stuff to go with it, trying to help people, right? Train people who were overweight pretty much the majority of their life. And there was an obvious disconnect, and I couldn't understand why they couldn't just do the things that I did that were so easy. It seemed easy, like, hey, just eat healthy food, put down the junk food, go to the gym. Like, why is it so hard? You just do it and you stay consistent with it. Like, why are these people struggling?
Mhm.
And I had one client who told me, Drew, you don't understand how hard it is for me or for people like me because for you, it's been easy your whole life. And I was like, how can I disagree with that? Like, you're right. I don't understand. So
Mm.
my mind kind of started thinking of ideas of like, okay, how can I gain a better understanding? And then for whatever reason, this idea of getting fat on purpose, like entered my mind and this light bulb went off like, oh my gosh, like what if you actually did this? And to make a long story short, in 2011, I decided to embark on a journey to let my body go completely for 6 months, stop exercise, and eat a standard American diet full of highly processed junk foods that I'm not gonna lie, taste very delicious. And, ate that every single day. And, it was fun at first. The first little bit was fun. It felt like this, sense of freedom to eat whatever you want, whenever you want. But very quickly, it became a lot harder than I bargained for, and it was one of the most humbling things I've ever done. And I
Mm.
realized I realized how wrong I was in my approach, and how much harder it is mentally and emotionally than I ever imagined. And so I gained 75 pounds in those 6 months, and
Oh wow.
then lost the 75 pounds in the next 6 months, which is why it's called Fit to Fat to Fit. And then wrote a book about it. The book became a TV show, and here we are today. So that's me in a nutshell.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's a serious thing to take on because just being a person who I never gained 75 pounds on purpose. I just gained it by accident. Let's say, say that. But going through that transformation, going through that journey, obviously the lessons learned. What's the lessons that came through for you?
Yeah, for me, a couple things. One is how much of physical transformation is actually mental and emotional for people. Like for me, I
Mm.
used to think, oh, it's so physical. You just eat healthy food and you go to the gym, like, boom, you just do it. Like, why is that so hard, right? And then the second lesson I learned was how powerful the emotional connection to food really is, and the biological connection as well. Like these types of foods that I'm talking about, like for example, my jam was cinnamon toast crunch. Like, and if anyone grew up in the '80s, like with sugary cereals for breakfast on Saturday mornings, like we were programmed to eat sugary cereal, toast, orange juice as like a complete American breakfast, right? That's what we were,
Absolutely.
taught. so,
Mhm.
so that's what I ate for those 6 months, and man, yes, there's a biological connection. When you eat those foods, you get a dopamine hit. Every time you get a dopamine hit, it feels like a reward, just like you would if you did a drug or had a sip of alcohol. You feel good temporarily, but then later on, you don't feel so good. So what
Mhm.
do? You have that thing that made you feel good, and you keep doing that. It creates a vicious cycle. And so the biological, but also the emotional connection was way more powerful than I ever imagined. And I gained so much empathy for those that struggle with weight loss or that struggle with food addiction or that struggle with just you know that live in larger bodies that are trying to people that live in larger bodies that are trying to change. It's not as simple as just willpowering your way out of it. It would be like saying to a drug addict, like, just, hey, just stop doing drugs. It's not that hard,
Mm.
you just do it. Willpower doesn't work for, I would say, 90 to 95% of the population.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. And one of the things for me that I just went through, I did a challenge for the guys who follow my channel. They know that I was went try to drop 25 pounds in 30 days. I actually dropped 23 pounds, but I will take that.
Mm,
The
congrats.
But one of the questions that came up for me was that from one of our viewers is, what about the skinny guys?
Yep.
Who want to get in shape? Is there what's that difference between the bigger guys and the smaller guys who want to just be in shape?
Yeah, so the ectomorphs, they have a I would say almost a tougher challenge than people who are obese trying to lose weight,
Mm,
because to have an ectomorph body frame and to putting on muscle mass is really, really hard. It's very slow progress compared to weight loss. You can see, if you're obese, you can see great results if you just, calorie restrict and move your body. You'll see great results, especially in the beginning. Putting on muscle mass for ectomorphs, I tell them they have to be more disciplined and more consistent than someone that's obese trying to lose weight. And you're fighting for, a half pound of muscle, every few weeks or every month even.
mm,
And it's a chore. You have to eat a lot of calories and you have to almost treat it like a full-time job. It is possible, but it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of consistency, and a lot of food. I'm not gonna lie, you have to eat a lot. So, I mean, it depends on the person. It's very individual, but I would say in general, ectomorphs, it's going to be a pretty challenging road ahead to put on a lot of lean muscle mass, especially if you're doing it naturally, right? We can talk
mhm.
about, other people's approaches with
Right, right.
steroids and things like that, but I would not recommend that route.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and for the guys who follow my channel, they know when it comes to steroids and me as well. Our whole goal is to get your Johnson to get solid. Get
Yes,
it
there we
up.
go.
You take those steroids, or you're going in the opposite direction. So, um, but in terms of what the big challenge is for a lot of people is staying consistent. What do you
Mm,
have for folks who the motivation comes and then it leaves and then it's like, well, it's New Year's every 3 weeks type of thing. What do
yeah.
they need to have in mind?
Well, see, this is why transformation is so much more mental and emotional than we think, right? A lot of people think, why can't I just be consistent with this physical lifestyle? The hard part for people is that they're going to have to learn how to overcome their emotional triggers, because as humans, we're emotional creatures, right? And so we go through emotions, uncomfortable emotions. And when we're triggered with uncomfortable emotions, we want to escape. We want to distract ourselves, numb out from those uncomfortable emotions that we deal with. And unfortunately, food is the most accessible drug, right? Not
Mm,
everyone that is going through stress is going to go out and find cocaine and heroin, but they can find cinnamon toast crunch and Twinkies and donuts and pizza and beer and all the good stuff that exists out there that's pushed in our face every single day. And now with technology, you can
mhm,
just push a button on your phone and get rid or numb those uncomfortable emotions any time of the day that you want to. So that's what you're battling against. You're battling against years and decades of bad programming. Now people have programmed their brain to anytime things get uncomfortable, they check out. So they'll order the pizza, they'll drink the beer with their friends because they had a fight with their girlfriend, or their kids are driving them crazy, or they're going through struggles with their finances. Whatever the triggers are,
Mhm.
if you want to stay consistent, you have to learn how to overcome your emotional triggers. And that's where the battle is won, is on the mental and emotional side, overcoming your mind, understanding why you do what you do. There's a good quote by someone named Anthony DeMello, and he says, "What you're aware of, you're in control of, and what you're not aware of is in control of you."
Mm.
And what he means by that is, as you become aware, as you build that self awareness, as you become aware of what your triggers are and why you do what you do, now you're able to more thoughtfully respond versus just react on autopilot like you normally do when you're in stressful situations. Now you can take a step back and be aware of, like, oh, okay, I understand that I'm self-sabotaging when I get into a fight with my girlfriend. That's when I want to reach for the beer and the alcohol, or the pizza, or whatever it is. And now that I'm aware of what triggers that, I can take a step back, take a few deep breaths, and then thoughtfully respond instead of just, get into a fight, react right away, and just say, screw this diet, screw this lifestyle. Give me the beer, give me the soda, the junk food, whatever it is, and then you temporarily feel better, right? Because the dopamine hit kicks in, but then that wears off and you crash below baseline and you feel horrible again. You feel the guilt and the shame and you hate yourself, and then it creates this vicious cycle. And that's what we're trying to overcome. It's not just a matter of like, hey, man up, and just willpower your way through this, because like I said, it doesn't work for the majority of the population. So
Mhm.
that's the start, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for a while there, you describing me exactly. Because that is the part right there that's sort of hard. It is too easy to get involved with all the food that's there, but the mindfulness part of it that you talked about is really important, so that you understand what's going on around you, and you can start affecting the change in a way that makes more sense instead of just going through life haphazardly. So I love
Yes.
that. Um, well, obviously we always talk about helping out with our testosterone growth naturally, so
Hmm.
that we can get to a point where you know uh, obviously I sell a supplement, Goodwood. Go ahead, check out
Yes.
givegoodwood.com. But the supplement helps with testosterone, but I'm always telling guys it's a supplement. You're supposed to do other things to supplement that supplement. In terms of working out, what do you recommend in terms of what we can do to increase our testosterone levels?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Lift heavy weights is great for guys, to increase their testosterone. Sun exposure as well, getting out, getting some sunlight as much as possible. I think for most people will help out with their testosterone levels. Also, surprisingly, things like taking your shirt off when you work out. I know that sounds crazy, but there are studies showing a short increase in testosterone as you increase, or as you take your shirt off. But I know it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. Cold water exposure or cold water therapy has been
Hmm.
shown to increase testosterone as well. So, taking cold showers every now and then, getting cold water on your testes, is very uncomfortable. It's not, it's like George Costanza, you know, getting out of the pool. You have to be
Right,
okay
right.
with some shrinkage. But little things like that. I'm not going to say that replaces testosterone replacement therapy or TRT or anything like that, but there are
Mm,
natural ways to increase testosterone. Eating a clean diet, as you are well aware of, eating, clean whole foods, not eating cinnamon toast crunch and pizza and beer and soda, getting rid of all the processed junk food and the high sugar foods that we have available out of our diet. Things like berries, I think, are really good. Green leafy vegetables as well. And then, in my opinion, things like liver, organ meats are great as well. But to each their own. And that's kind of what I tend to do to supplement my testosterone levels naturally. I'm 42 years old, definitely trying to fight age here, and as much as I can with all like these biohacking techniques. Um, and then obviously there's things like your product that exists out there, and there's other things that can help boost men's testosterone. But I would always recommend a healthy lifestyle first and foremost.
absolutely, absolutely. In terms of, not only do we want to have that good high testosterone so things will work properly and we can enjoy our sex lives, but obviously you need some endurance there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on HIIT, high intensity interval training?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I also am very aware of overdoing it. With high intensity interval training, like for me, I've done CrossFit before and have actually seen a dip in testosterone from doing too much, maxing out type of hit training, thinking more is better or harder is better. For me, I have to limit my hit training to maybe twice a week max, because for me it does affect, this is just me personally, affects my testosterone levels if I'm maxing out every single day, doing these hit, cardio sessions or CrossFit style workouts where you're pushed to the max every single day, and it's taxing on your body. So that's why I'll do, like, for me, I'll do maybe 2 days of hit training, with cardio or sprinting up hills, um, things like that, and then 3 days or 4 days of heavy lifting has
Mm,
been really, really good for me, as I've gotten older.
okay. And that's a big part of it is that recovery. What are your thoughts on, recovery and, what can guys do to enhance their recovery?
That's a really good question. So this I'm a big believer that actually diet and exercise is a smaller piece of the puzzle when it comes to seeing the results we want, than people might think. Sleep
Mm,
and stress management, I would put over diet and exercise. It would, in my opinion, sleep is first and foremost. Like, you have to. I tell people, if you sleep like you're getting paid a full time salary, you will definitely take sleep more, importantly, if that was your full-time job. Like, if you got paid a full-time salary just to sleep as efficiently and as long as possible, you would change things up, like, maybe invest in some blue light blocker glasses, or turn your computers or screens off at nighttime. You would stop eating 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. You would, reduce the temperature in your room. You would black out, all the lights in your room at nighttime, and you would maybe read a book instead of being online, scrolling through social media before bed. Little things like that can make a big difference. Sleep is the ultimate biohack, in my opinion. It
mm,
outperforms any supplement or any diet. So if you're not sleeping well, diet and exercise will only get you so far. And then from there, stress management, right?
mhm.
We live in a very stressful world, mostly first world problems, right? We're not fighting off tigers, and we're not. Most people aren't at war. If you live in a first world country, so most of your stress is relationship stress, or your Wi-Fi isn't working today, or you didn't get enough likes on your post,
Mm,
whatever the stress is.
that is stressful. That's stressful.
Yes, but learning to deal with your stress, right? You can't get rid of it, but learning to deal with it. So I'm a big believer in things like meditation and breath work. Getting out in nature, for me, is great for my stress levels. Self-soothing, and what does that look like? That could be a massage, that could be yoga, that could be just me. I live here in Hawaii, so walking across the street and watching sunset for 10 minutes. Little things like that to bring your cortisol down, because our cortisol seems to be, highly elevated, constantly with, everything that we have in our stressful, first world lives these days. So learning to bring that down will help with other hormone production. So sleep, stress management first and foremost, and then from there I would say definitely nutrition. Exercise, in my opinion, is a small piece of the puzzle,
Mm.
when it comes to actually seeing results.
Yeah, I actually heard a quote from CrossFit champion Matt Frazier, and
Hmm.
he said, if sleep was classified as a drug, it'd probably be illegal with all the
Yes.
benefits you get from it. I was like,
So
wow,
true.
that is deep. I like that one.
Hmm.
Um, and so, so we got those two pieces covered. We got the sleep, we got the rest. In terms of, do you do intermittent fasting? Do you do fasting?
Yes, fasting for me is different. Intermittent fasting is one approach, and I definitely, am a big believer in that. I've kind of used it as almost like a default, where I just kind of naturally fall into that. I used to be of the
Mm,
mindset of, like, more meals is better. Keep your metabolism up. If you skip a meal, your metabolism slows down. Like,
mhm.
10, 15 years ago, we were all preaching that in the fitness industry, and I'll fully admit that was me. Now that I'm older and wiser, you look at the science. For me, I don't think we need to eat as much as we used to, and for me, intermittent fasting is a great way to break that habit of being a slave to food all the time, where I have to meal prep and eat every 2 or 3 hours and bring my Tupperware with me. It's nice just to skip a meal and not feel hangry or feel like I'm gonna die. And eating 2 meals per day seems, for me at least, I'm able to maintain my physique that way pretty easily. I don't have to put a ton of effort into it, but I'm a big fan of that. As far as extended fasting goes, I just finished a 24-hour fast, which I typically do once a week, not for weight loss. Yes, there's health benefits to extended fasting, and you can Google those benefits. They're really easy to find. But
Mhm.
for me, it's more of a mental discipline thing, and there's a spiritual aspect to it. Like taking a break from food, I think is good for us as humans that live in this first world where we can have food any time of the day. Like any time of the day, you can go get food. You're not, you know, like our ancestors didn't have access to food all the time. I think it's good to be hungry sometimes, and it's good to be
Mhm.
uncomfortable. And getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, I think, is a great mindset or a great approach to this life, because at some point you're going to be uncomfortable. And if your mind isn't prepared to learn or deal with being uncomfortable, you're going to have a really hard time getting through this life, because life
Mm.
is going to throw uncomfortable curveballs at you. And by preparing your mind forcefully of doing things intentionally, like, hey, I'm going to skip a day of food or 2 days of food, yeah, that sucks. It's not fun, but you're training your brain to become comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And so I think fasting has way more benefits on the mental discipline side of things. Same thing with like a cold shower. Cold shower, I'll throw into that category too. Sure, there's some health benefits to taking cold showers, but for me, it's training my brain to say, "Hey, we're gonna do something purposefully that sucks," because at some point, life is gonna throw something at us that sucks, and now our ability to deal with it is gonna be a lot better, having trained our brain to deal with that uncomfortable feeling or emotion, whatever it is, and that way you're more prepared for those hard life situations.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, all of that is so very true. I believe in all of that. In fact, I just did a 22-hour fast. Just getting
Nice.
ready for this, so I'm gonna
There
just go ahead
you
and grab some meat
go.
right quick. Um, so, a couple of things. First of all, for those who are just joining us, I meant to say this earlier. This is Drew Manning. I am Brian Ayers, aka Uncle B. Drew has his website, Fat to Fit to Fat, Fit to Fat. You know what?
That's your website, right?
Yes,
We
that's
gotta
my
make a
website.
website for you.
Yeah, Fit to Fat to Fit. The number two.com. And on there you have coaching programs. You have your live coaching that I saw on there. What is your
Mhm.
coaching program like? What do you do?
Yeah, so there's a few different options. The one-on-one coaching is, some people come to me and they want to work with me one-on-one. I actually have a team of coaches that help facilitate that, where you do get access to me, but you also have access to my team of coaches, where you get daily check-ins, 24/7 access to us as a team. It's customized meal plans, customized workouts, customized supplement protocol, plus accountability, plus a support system, and someone that understands the mental and emotional side of transformation. That's what the one-on-one coaching is there for. And obviously, there's a pretty high demand for that, which is why I have a team of coaches help facilitate that. Plus weekly Zoom calls, where we get to see each other face to face and help you through those mental and emotional challenges that we kind of have talked about on this podcast so far. So that's what the one-on-one coaching consists of. And then I also have an app that people that don't obviously that's a higher budget item for people. This is more of a lower ticket thing where people can subscribe to my app and get access to, not customized meal plans, but meal plans, workouts, progress tracking, community support. It's kind of more of through an app, and that's a monthly subscription. And then I actually do something called these 30-day conscious fitness challenges, and that's more geared for people who struggle with more so the emotional side of transformation, the things that we've talked about. Like they can't overcome their triggers, they can't understand why they emotionally eat. This does a deep dive more into the psychology behind transformation and why people struggle with that. And so that's kind of more geared towards these 30-day challenges, where I can really do a deep dive into teaching people how to shift their perception of themselves, their body,
Mm,
how they see food. And that really helps them overcome those mental and emotional hurdles or triggers that we've kind of been talking about.
okay. That is all great. Drew, I really want to thank you for hopping over, taking some time with me, taking some time to help the fellas out there figure out what to do with their fitness and their overall health. You know, a lot of the stuff you've been talking about is what I preach. I think that's the reason why we get along so well. um,
Yeah.
so this has
Amen.
been perfect. This has been perfect. So for all the guys out there, yeah, please go to Drew's website, check it out, see if if you fit into any of the categories that he talks about. I mean, because we all need help in some shape or form. If you do not have a coach, you're missing out on parts of life you don't know about. So
Amen.
check it out. Check it out. So once again, this is Brian, aka Uncle B, here with Drew Manning. Please check out all of his stuff, and we will talk to you guys later on. This is Goodwood University signing out.